Hello. I'm XXX Swag Mojo XXX, and I'm here to talk to you about the Canadian Constitution. What is a constitution, you might ask? And you'd be right to do so. A constitution sets the base rules that the citizens of a country must follow. The Canadian Constitution all started back in 1867. At this point, British North America separated into its own nation, Canada. This is when Canada got its first base laws of the Constitution. In December of 1931, the Statute of Westminster was made by the British Parliament. This defined the powers that Canada and many other former British colonies would have, and gave them their own laws apart from British law. The Constitution Act in 1982 gave Canada the power to amend its own constitution and complete independence from Britain. The Constitution Act also allowed for the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms to be made. Quebec, however, was left out of the Constitution signing, and in 1987, the Conservative government made the Meech Lake Accord in an attempt to get Quebec to sign the Constitution. Unfortunately, it failed, and Quebec did not agree to sign the Constitution. The Charlottetown Accord in 1992 was a second attempt by the Conservative government to get Quebec to sign the Constitution, which, for a second time, failed. To this day, Quebec still has not agreed to the Constitution, although they still have to follow it. There are 3 levels of government in Canada that make all the laws, and they are federal, provincial, municipal governments. The first level of government is the federal government. The federal government runs the military, post service, and a branch of the police service. The federal government also makes the laws that apply to the whole country, and is the only level of government that can make laws that apply to the whole country. The second level of government is the provincial government. Every province has a provincial government that runs the school systems, environmental services, and energy production, and makes laws for the province that apply only to that specific province. The third level is the municipal government. A municipal government is smaller than the other levels of government, but there are more municipal governments than any other of the levels. Every municipal government is responsible for looking after the local community and doing things such as maintaining the roads, waste management, animal control, and other services for the public. Despite their differences, they all have one thing in common. They all charge us taxes. Along with the 3 levels of government, there are also 3 branches of government: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. The executive branch is the branch that makes decisions. This branch also runs the day-to-day operations and enforces laws. The executive branch consists of a member elected by the public, like the Prime Minister or Premier, an executive council, such as the Cabinet, and a representative of the Queen, like the Governor-General or Lieutenant Governor. Another branch of the government is the legislative branch. The main job of the legislative branch is to make, amend, and debate laws. This branch consists of an elected assembly, and at the federal level consists of the House of Commons and the Senate. The judicial branch is in charge of protecting Canadians' rights and punishing those who break the law. This is the branch that is responsible for interpreting the laws of the legislative branch. This branch consists of all the judges and courts in Canada. Parts of the Canadian Constitution, such as the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, are entrenched. This means that it is very difficult to change these parts of the Constitution. That is actually a very good thing, because it restricts the government's power in a way that protects our rights. If part of the Constitution were not entrenched, then the government could easily change the Constitution, possibly against the wishes of Canadian citizens. Much of the Constitution is entrenched, so the rights and freedoms of Canadians are mostly safe from change. The Constitution also states whether the federal or provincial government handles a specific issue. If the Constitution doesn't state specifically what form of government handles the issue, it's given automatically to the federal government. This is referred to as residual power and is used by Canada. The amending formula is the process required to change any part of the Constitution. It requires a lot of support from a lot of people, including the public. That is because the Constitution is so important that most parts are entrenched. There are 3 amending formulas, but by far the one most used is the general formula. The general amending formula of Canada requires the approval of the federal parliament, the Senate, a minimum number of provincial legislators, and at least 7 provinces, representing at least half the population. That's the basic information of Canada's Constitution. Thank you for your time.